listening to the Transformations with Jayne podcast. I'm your host, Jayne Nakata, a New Zealander living her best life in Fukushima, Japan. I'm a podcast consultant and the creator of Pod Launch with Jayne, a system that helps you create your dream podcast without all the drama and hassle, leaving you more free time to do the things you love to do. This show is for people who want to hear stories of women who are doing amazing things here in Japan and across the world. You'll find loads of inspiration for how you can live your best life wherever you are. I'm glad you're here. Let's get on with the show. Hello, Jennifer. Welcome back to the Transformations with Jayne podcast. It's great to have you back on the show today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to have been invited back. I often don't get asked to return.
Oh, really? I don't know where that would be. No, I love to have a check-in with some of my previous guests. So it's great to just sort of show what has happened in the, several years since you were on the show last time. And yeah, just to show progress. Isn't it great to stop and sort of just have a look at all the things that you've done over the time since we last spoke, which was in October 2019.
PC.
Back then we were fresh-faced and innocent and all of that. I went and had listened to us. And apart from the audio being not so great, we were sort of excited for what was coming. You were about to go to Portugal, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
That sounded like an amazing trip you were about to take. I was about to move to Sweden. I was like 1 month away from moving to Sweden. And we know how that turned out.
You did move to Sweden.
I did. It was amazing. I loved it. And then we got sent back again. And here we are. Got a taste of the good life. But that was an experience in itself to experience that way to live a life. So I'm very grateful for that and experience in that way. And so Jennifer, for those who have never heard of you and they're like, who is this Jennifer person? Please introduce yourself.
My goodness, we're living under a rock now. Just okay.
Right.
I'm a facilitator and a coach and a podcaster and an artist and a mother and a community builder. Any more hats
that's all
wearing? No, there's probably some more.
A Spartan weekend warrior.
Well, I just did a race recently and it wasn't great.
Okay.
Getting back to it. Yes, I'm a runner. I love Harry Potter.
Yes, I love Harry Potter too.
Yes, we have something in common there. And recently, actually, that's something which has changed since our last one, because I got Disney Plus, and in lockdown, I said I'm going to watch all the Marvel movies. So I'm quite interested in Marvel these days as well.
I may also admit that I am a little bit interested in Marvel movies too now, thanks to my daughter who somehow watched one of these, and I don't know how she even started it, but she started watching one of these and she was like, oh my God, these are great. And then she started watching all of them and Mommy, watch these with me. And so, I was like, actually, these are quite cool and quite fun. And there's so many of them. What is this strange universe? So now she's a huge Marvel fan too.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Did she watch Moon Knight?
Moon Knight.
Oh,
Moon Knight. Sorry. Yes. Oh, Moon Knight. Is that the new one?
Yes, just finished. But now there's a new one. So as we're recording, I think it's coming out next week or this week. Miss Marvel, like kind of coming of age, teen one.
I'm sure she'll be onto it because I was made to sign up for a year of Disney Plus. I was kind of like, just for the summer holidays, or just to get through Golden Week. And they were like, no, don't take away our subscription. So I may have signed up for a year anyway.
Well, that is why I started watching, because I'm paying for this Disney Plus thing and nobody's watching it. So I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. And I love Tom Hiddleston as well. So let's watch the Marvel movies.
Right.
And now I'm watching Obi-Wan Kenobi as well, which is great.
I believe.
Anyway, I don't think we're here to talk about
yes. Don't, Disney Plus could be some good stuff in there, people. But anyway, yeah.
My fandom experiences.
Yes. So Jennifer, you're a facilitator, many things that you told us all about. You came to Japan a few years before me,
yes,
wasn't it?
It's 1999.
1999.
The last millennium.
As an English teacher.
Yep.
And you have not recreated, but transformed into who you are today on this podcast. So give us a quick rundown of your history. How did that look?
From 1999 or since?
Okay. Party like it's 1999.
Party like it's 1999. I had an English literature degree from Oxford University, decided I wanted to spend a year living overseas. Came to Japan instead of going to Italy, thinking I could go to Italy anytime. I haven't been back to Italy since then.
Oh my goodness.
Which needs to be rectified. I worked in an English conversation school, English language school for 4 years, including at their head office, joined a recruitment company and worked there for 12 years in sales, training, sales operations and marketing, and decided to return to my training kind of roots in 2016 when I set up my recruitment business. No, not recruitment business. What? I can't remember what I'm doing. What a terrible pitch. I set up
what is
my
it you do?
Training company. So it's just me, team of one. I bring in different partners on different projects. But I generally work around the themes of Ikigai and inclusion. Most of my clients are corporate. So I work a lot with international teams. And I like the opportunities to get people to see lots of different perspectives and to be open to what other ways there are of like looking at the world and approaching different challenges and different opportunities. So that's what I love about that part of my job. And then kind of these other transformations that happened since. I was approached to write a book about Ikigai, and I put in a couple of proposals, and the agent said, "Oh, it's great, but it's only your voice, so you need to get some other people's experiences with Ikigai." I said, "Well, I've got to interview people. I need to record to get the transcript, and if I need to get the transcript and record it, why don't I launch a podcast?" And I went through a bit of kind of bootstrapping that with my assistant, the wonderful Laura. Then it was just getting kind of too much. And that's when you were doing more work with your podcast business. And you said, "Jen, your podcast's quite nice, but I don't think anyone knows it exists." And you've transformed the podcasts. So that's pretty interesting how that has grown.
Yeah, I think you were client number 2.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Because I think I helped you get it going, and like when I was still back in Sweden, I think I helped you to sort of, I do remember making you record your intro and outro because you kept avoiding it, right? Yes. and we had to do that. But yes, and then so you were officially client number 2 ever.
Wow.
In the history of Podlaunch.
Wow, I didn't know that. Oh, that's so
I thought
cool.
you did. Oh, there you go.
No, I didn't know I was client number 2. You did a good job of making me think you had more than one client. Impressive. Impressive. I like your sales skills.
But I think when you came back later on, after you tried to bootstrap it yourself, you weren't number 2 then. But
then I wasn't. Okay, that was the point. Yes, yes. It was the very early days, and then there was like more. And
that just goes to show how much work goes into one of these episodes that goes out, right? That you don't see on the back end. It all looks so easy, and you just
it is really easy. It is really easy because now Pod Launch with Jayne does everything. You and your team, so it's really easy for me, and I get to do the thing which I enjoy, which is talking to my guests.
Yeah, so now we have Ikigai with Jennifer Shinkai as a podcast, another podcast from a woman in Japan, an international woman in Japan. So I really love that this little community has grown and grown. It's not such a little community anymore of podcasters. And you're celebrating your 7th business anniversary this year.
Yes. Right? So in the cheeky counting that many companies do when they're less than 10 years old, this is the start of year 7. So
yes, but it's the 7th anniversary.
Yes. I remembered that we did that in my old company, Wall Street, and then everyone got confused. And then at one point we said, okay, we need to, now we're more than 10 years old. Let's, not pretend that we were in year, that kind of, we're in year 1 or we're in year 0, that talk. So I wonder if it's actually 6th anniversary, but
we'll get there. I think eventually. My brain can't deal with
no,
this.
me too. Me too. I'm quite surprised that I can't work this out yet. I've managed to keep my business running for that long.
And there you go.
There you go. There you go.
Just lean forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but yeah. So it's been quite the ride. Especially these last couple of years. Like it's really changed. Talk about like transformative experiences in the world.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about March 2020. I think that was sort of a pivotal month for you in this whole COVID story.
Yeah, well, I think it was probably pivotal for many people because that was when, like, you know, the world paused and the global lockdowns happened and we all kind of went into it together at that point. It wasn't just this thing in Asia. It came across the world and everything stopped, right? Borders closed. Everybody is in a wait and see holding pattern. And I had this thought, because I'm a facilitator, I used to do all my work face to face. I'd be going around Tokyo with my little, suitcase with my laptop and some Post-it notes and a push ball, and spend all my day on my feet in rooms with people. And of course, all my clients said, everything's cancelled. Like, totally understand. And then I was going, okay, well, totally understand, but I need to do something. Otherwise, I'll go mad. And I was in the shower and I was like, it can't just be me. Must be other people. I was like, okay, hang on. I'm going to make this little community. And then I had like this full download of exactly what it was going to be like, exactly what I wanted to happen. And I was so productive. I just like got the whole structure. We were going to have Monday morning meetings. We were going to have Wednesday check-ins, and we were going to have Friday like TGIF. It was going to be all online through Zoom. Anyone was welcome as long as they felt like my business has been impacted by COVID, and they didn't have to be in Japan particularly. They just needed to be that these were comfortable time zones. And and all the branding was there. It was like really weird, actually, like a full on download. And one transformation thought I had in that moment of setting up this group was, I had a story that I can't be productive on the first day of my period. And that is now no longer true. Okay. I can create what is a now 400 person plus Facebook community on the first day of my period. I thought I just had to lie in bed, feel sorry for myself and take a lot of painkillers and generally be like low energy. So that was another transformative thought. So Make March Matter is the name of the group, because I thought that COVID would only last for 1 month. And I would write my book. And then the next day after I decided to launch it was when the Prime Minister at the time, which I guess was Abe-san, decided he would close the schools. So I went, okay, my book's not going to get written, but all my work is still cancelled. So, okay, let's carry on. And it just, it gave me, talk about Ikigai. It literally gave me a reason to get out of bed. The Monday morning meetings at 8:30. I got out of bed. I had to be presentable. I had to be there for people. And as I said, we're still going. Thank you for being a member.
Yeah, exactly. This community still exists, and even though COVID has kind of transformed as well as we've gone along, and potentially people's need for the group has slightly decreased, I would say, but they just love to come along and say hi and see everyone and check in and do all the things that you did back when there was suddenly no structure to everyone's day. So I think it's become kind of a habit for lots of people. And I'm always thinking, what have I got on this Friday? Can I join or can I not? Or, it's so-and-so's birthday. I can't make it this week. Oh, well, someone else will be there. It'll be okay. But always come back to it and keep it in mind. And so if you're listening and you're like, well, this Make March Matter sounds really great, I wish I could have joined. Well, you still can, because it's open still and we're still accepting members.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And still new members arriving in most weeks, right?
I don't sort of actively recruit for it, but people find it and come along, and it's it's really nice. But I will always keep it online first.
Right. That's a nice thing. Yeah. I feel, especially as a rural person, that the online is the main form of how this group works.
Yeah.
And occasionally there are face-to-face, slightly more now than ever before, but they're still not the main way that the group works, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's been like, other transformations that have happened because of my business now. I probably will do a face-to-face workshop in July, the first one since March 2020. And when the client first mentioned it to me, they said, oh, it's a 2-day offsite. And I just said, I can't do a 2-day offsite. And so I said, I can't do a 2-day offsite as my first, like, back in the field. I don't think I have the energy for it. I don't know how to hold the room for that long. So I was quite proud of myself for, sort of setting that expectation with the client. Like, it's too much for me to do in the first day. And then they were like, oh no, it's going to be 2 days for us, but we only need you for half a day. I was like, okay, I can manage that. Good.
Oh, phew. I can do that.
And I'm having a co-facilitator as well. So between the two of us, we should manage 4 hours. I'm hoping so. But what it's enabled me to do is, my clients are in all different locations. I do more kind of little and often programs, 2 hours, 2 to 3 hour sessions, but over several weeks or months. Whereas before it's like, come in for a 2-day offsite and then I wouldn't see people again.
Right.
So it's really nice to be able to do that review. And do you remember what we talked about last month? And everyone goes, no, okay, hang on, right, let's, and like building on it. So
So do you think you'd like to continue in this way moving forward, or have you found the right balance between like the sort of online on face-to-face, or still a work in progress?
I feel like it's a little bit of a dirty secret. I really like online work. Because I like, right? And I know that there's many facilitators who cannot wait to get back into the face-to-face environment. But I was reading an article that was talking about how dangerous that type of language is from, not necessarily from facilitators, but from leaders inside organizations. And it really struck a chord with me, because when people say, this is an important meeting, so it has to be done face-to-face, for those people who are looking for a different type of flexibility or who are always remote, how does it set up the different kind of classes of employees in your organization? So it's, many organizations have made great steps forward in terms of bringing in different types of talent who want different types of lifestyles, different types of flexibilities and approaches. And now it's all like, okay, back to the old ways. And I've got used to the flexibility, being here, see my kids when they come home from school, my husband cooking every meal. Like, I've got used to that. I don't want him to go back to the office full time. He doesn't want to go back to the office full time.
Right. So he's at home doing his work from home as well.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. I have not. He's not popped in the background in the last 2.5 years. I've not seen him once.
On the kitchen table.
No. Oh, he's at the kitchen table.
And occasionally
he's happy, right? Like at the kitchen table.
Occasionally, but it still has to go into the office sometimes, but not so much. Yeah, it's nice. He makes my lunch, makes my dinner.
It's interesting how everyone has their, like, I don't know, like now you've experienced the working from home. You like to say that, whereas my husband is like, I'm going to the office, bye, see ya, kind of thing. He wants to get to the office. And I'm like, I think he just likes to go there, do his work and come home.
Yeah.
And whereas I'm like, no, I like to work a bit, do some other things, come back to my work, be here when my kids are home.
Yeah.
That, to me, that is just perfect.
Yeah.
Don't make me go into the office.
Yeah.
I'd
also worked from home since 2016.
Right. Yes. You're same. We're prepared.
So
right?
So I hadn't had an office environment, but I had been doing. It's great now. Just more meetings. Do we need to meet face to face for this? Do I need to travel an hour to you? Do all that, checking in. We can actually do this quite effectively.
20 minutes online and done, right?
Yeah, done. Yeah. So, sorry, my earphone keeps coming out my ear. That's occupational hazard, maybe, from being online. Right. But so I think there's something. I don't know what the future holds for that, but I'm open to having variety, and I'm also one of those because I want to work with international teams as well. I think that I think international travel has changed. People have seen how much can be there, and it's still not very easy for APAC wide teams to come. I have a client who she's managing the team in Japan, and she still can't get here because she can get here from the visa perspective right now. But when she returns to, I think it's Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong is 3 or 4 weeks in quarantine still.
Oh my goodness.
So it's got to be a really, 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 really important meeting.
Right.
And she was even saying like the only quarantine hotel she could find was like a 2-star hotel. So, you love your team, but you really
not for 3 weeks in quarantine. No.
Not for 3 weeks in quarantine in a tiny, tiny room. Yeah.
No.
Not good.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a bit challenging still, I think, across APAC. The borders are not so super open in the same way. And we have to remember that what's happening for us in our country, wherever we are, is not going to be echoed.
No.
Everywhere around the world.
It's not. And even now that, we're seeing people traveling more again, it's been quite a disaster so far, hasn't it? Of like just the UK and things with just not going very well, with having all these flights and then nobody to check the people in or process the bags and all these sort of things. It's just not coming back together just quite how we thought. So I'm like, thank God I have nowhere to go and I just have to stay home.
There you go. You see, you were worried you had your FOMO about I was telling you about my plans for the summer, and you're like, now I don't have to be.
I don't feel so bad anymore.
For, 4 hours at Birmingham Airport. I'll be thinking of you, Jen. So
I think by the time you get there, it's going to be okay, though, right? Like they're going to be sorted out potentially.
I don't know. It's just. We'll see. I'll update you. We can do another podcast afterwards.
You can text me from the airport.
How was the trauma of that? So
oh dear,
we'll see.
So another thing that's come out of the pandemic for you has been, and I can see it on the wall behind you there, even though this is an audio podcast, Jennifer always has a display of pictures behind her that she has created herself recently. So tell us a bit about your coming back to artwork.
Yes.
What was the catalyst for that? Like, was there something that happened that you...
Well, pre the trip that we talked about last time, I had been doing a points of view workshop where I said, as an outcome, it was this My Life's Wish List in the level 2 academy creative practice. I said, I'm going to invite more art into my life. So it was already sort of there as I was having this calling and an itch that really needed to be scratched, like more and more. I just need to get my hands into something, the creative expression, which is coming from like putting together workshops and creating spaces is not quite enough, or it's not quite, because I do see like being a facilitator is a form of creative expression. I'm creating space and creating atmosphere, but there was something more about tangible something. And so that was already in my mind before the trip in December 2019. It got solidified on that trip. And then pandemic, and someone in the Points of Community, Kiddo Tan, was doing like, I'm going to do these stress relieving art classes with online. She's in Malaysia. And I went along, and then I carried on going along, and the class has changed massively. Like at the beginning, it was loads of adults, a couple of kids, and the timing kept changing, and it was quite big at the beginning because everyone was in lockdown and the schools were all closed in Malaysia. And then it's gradually over time has shifted to I'm the only adult in the class apart from kiddo. And the average age of the students like 9, and they're all girls. We recently one girl could no longer come anymore, which is a shame. And they're so talented and so sweet. And what I love about it is everyone just like shares their work, and then no critiques. Wow. Really lovely. Yeah. I started
like no shyness about this is not really very good.
No.
But here's my apple or whatever. No, they just share.
Yeah, and so especially when there used to be a couple more younger kids, and just they'd tell the stories about their work and what they were trying to express through their art, and it was just so beautiful and so creative, and it made me really playful. And then one time they started to do this giraffe. Somebody wanted to learn, like we were allowed to, like, what do you want to learn to draw? I want to learn how to draw a giraffe. So we started doing a giraffe, and my first giraffe picture I really hated, but many people actually say they quite like it. But anyway, then I missed a lesson, and when I came back the challenge was can giraffes swim? And so we had to draw a picture of a giraffe swimming. What would it look like? Use your imagination. And we did all these other pictures, and kiddo said, we should write a book. Let's write stories like connecting this giraffe with the swimming giraffe, and how did it end up in the water? So we wrote these stories, and then she said, we should publish a book. And then I somehow in my brain said, I will publish a book. And so I published a book called Can Giraffes Swim?
Woohoo. Yes.
Woohoo.
Your first.
And
first.
I'm just looking because I've got a picture over here, because in July, actually, the lovely Cynthia Usui has said I can exhibit the works.
Okay.
So all the original artworks from Can Giraffes Swim and Gus, which is the book which I published this year, will be displayed in the lobby of her hotel. Loft.
Wow.
Shimbashi.
That's so exciting.
Links in the show notes.
Yeah. The Shimbashi. What's it called again? The
Loft.
Loft.
L-O-F.
Yeah.
L-O-F hotel.
That as a hotel, I definitely want to stay in next time I'm in Tokyo with more than just myself. I think it's quite family friendly, right? They have a really nice family rooms there. Yes, well, that's exciting. Your first.
It was a very long and boring story. I told it. I need to get better at doing that concisely. Sorry,
but for the first timer, you came back to this creative thing that you had sort of. It wasn't your first time to be creative, but you'd always been quite creative as a student before you went and got a proper real job and all of that, right? And it took a pandemic for you to find it again. And you've now published not one picture book, but 2. And another book is in the works, which was always in the works before, but it's still coming, right?
Yes. That is in submission. And at the moment, beyond my touch, with editors.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Reviewing.
Exciting.
And then saying, we're not sure the market can bear another book on Ikigai. But you heard it here first. But hopefully we can persuade them that it can.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about being consciously incompetent with something that is in this case, it's work. Yeah. How about that process of like sharing your artwork? I mean, obviously you had some good practice in this group with these kids, right? And they were just like, here's my artwork. And you shared, but then you had to go into the world of adults, right? And share your work. How was that?
It was quite interesting. I think the consciously incompetent is a little different. It's a different piece. So I'll come to that in a moment. Yeah.
That's 2 pieces. Sorry.
But definitely it's very vulnerable. But then also not. Like I remember when I published Can Giraffes Swim, because I just held it really lightly. But one of the saddest things that I heard from people was like, I've always wanted to publish a children's book. And I felt quite bad because I'm like, I've never wanted to publish a children's book, but I did it, which is not to say like, oh, look at me. But actually there's many things which 10, 15 years ago were really like high barrier to entry. from a content creation point of view. And now, you want to publish a children's book, publish a children's book. Will it sell lots of copies and make you money? No. But if you want to have like that legacy or that like itch scratched, it's really popular. You want to make a short film? Yeah, go for it. Will millions of people see it and you get funding? Maybe not. But can you do the thing? Yes. So I think there's kind of more opportunities, and just easy to and kind of leads to like there's so much content out there, so it's hard as a consumer to what should I look at and what should I not. But I think also it's very easy for people to just have a go.
Yeah, I think it's a good chance to check in with that dream again and see is it still as difficult as you thought it was going to be like 10 years ago, because chances are it's not.
Yeah.
Right? Technology wise,
yes,
we can do loads of things we couldn't do before, so potentially that dream is a lot closer than you think. Time to check in again with that. Yeah, whatever that might be.
I mean, and this is actually interesting because I've self-published, and then I'm also going the traditional publishing route with the Ikigai book. It's so different because if you self-publish, it's just up to you. You can, do that, but of course your reach is going to be smaller, and how you can connect to people, it's going to be different, but you can just do it. Now I'm in the position where, my agent is, and what I've got in the proposal is trying to persuade people that there's a market, right? And it's nothing about writing the book. It's going, this is worth investing in, and people will buy it. So it's quite, and as a first-time nonfiction author, right, or first-time anything, that's a big ask for a publisher to go, why should we put any money behind this? And so it's just a different perspective. So some of these, self-funded stuff, if you just want to do it because you've always wanted to do it, you can do it. What's it called? Can Giraffes Swim? What's it called? Can Giraffes Swim? I'm thinking the process. I thought I had to like get these high quality professional photos done of the artwork. And I went to Kinko's and like tried to get, and I thought they were going to send them off somewhere. No, they couldn't. And then we did it on the Kinko's machine. It wasn't that good. I didn't like how the vibrancy of the colors came out. So I went to the 7-Eleven convenience store, put it on the highest DPI. And those are the images which I used in the book. I found an amazing guy called Chris from Authors First on Fiverr. And he did the design. Emails back and forth. I think it was about $50 for the layout of the text and the covers, and he got it all ready to put up onto Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. Done. So it was, a couple of $100 plus $50. Of course, I had the artwork and everything, but those things that you think are going to cost a lot of money don't necessarily cost a lot of money. So yeah, I love what you said. Go back and check in. Yeah, there might be a way to do it now. I just made line stamps.
You did, and I bought them.
Yes.
I am an owner.
Have you used them? I keep forgetting to use them.
Yes, because I don't have any line stamps. I've never bought any line stamps before. And I'm like, I don't want line to have any of my payment details. This is my thought process around it. And then you were like, I've made line stamps. I was like, damn it, I do need some. So I'm like, why don't I figure this out? And then I figured it out. I can pay with Apple Pay. And somehow that seemed okay to me. So I bought them, 120 yen. Can we put that in the show notes?
Yes, please do.
Yes. Give me a link. So
what's your favorite stamp?
Google
which is your most used?
I quite often, because it's the most useful kind of one. I think I use okay. One. And the thank you one. And I'm waiting to see someone say to me, where did you get your stamps? Because I can't wait to share them. But I don't use line much, so I have not had much of a chance to use them. But the yes one as well. Okay. So I'm looking for some opportunities to use the other ones. But I don't have any other stamps. So it's, I'm being very loyal to my Can Giraffes Swim.
Good old Georgie
stamps. But yeah, we definitely transitioned from just the plain old thumbs up, like the standard ones that you have.
That's really nice to hear. I keep forgetting to use them myself, but it's another thing. Like, I can make line stamps. Cool.
Yeah. Like how does one do that? Like, is it just you just upload little images to something online?
There's an app, Line Stamp Maker.
A line stamp app maker.
Yeah. And I was inspired to do it because my friend's 11-year-old daughter made some line stamps, and I bought her line stamps after her mum posted it on Facebook. And then I was like, please get her to tell me how to do it. And then I was like, actually, I'll just Google this myself. And it's available all in English. So that was easy. And it takes a couple of days for them to approve it. And of course, if you can do them private ones as well, or you can do for sale. So I actually made some family line stamps, which have like, my husband's head in an onigiri. You can use photos and stuff in your thing.
Sure.
And it's like hungry. But those are not for sale. Those are not for sale.
Shame.
And I'll make some for Gus as well. I'll make some line stamps for Gus.
Good idea.
Yeah.
So if you sold like 1 million, then you might get what, like?
The royalties are so tiny.
I
think it's something like, so on 120 yen, and we'll find out at the end of the month when it comes through. 30% goes to Apple Pay or whoever, and then I think you get 50% of what's left on 120 yen. So maybe if you sold 1 million, it's kind of gets worth it. But I've probably sold like 10. I'm guessing from what people have said on social media. But I've bought some, so I'll get something nice in the 100 yen shop.
But hey, like it's a fun thing. Like people can support at all kinds of levels,
Yes, exactly.
But making that like when someone near you does something, it's like, oh, I could try that too. Oh, Jennifer published a book. I could have a go too. Or Jennifer made line stamps.
Yeah, transformations with Jayne line stamps. Let's podcast.
Yeah. So she's podcasting. I can podcast too. Yeah, it's great. It's inspirational to other people around. So that's very, very cool. Yeah. So then we come to the competence. No, what is it?
So there's a
conscious
link. No. So there's a learning cycle which begins with I'm unconsciously incompetent. Like I don't know what I don't know.
Don't know.
Right. And then the next is consciously incompetent. So I realize there's loads of things that I don't know and I can't do. Then you become consciously competent. So it's not like riding a bike. You have to really pay attention. And then unconsciously competent. So like riding a bike, you don't need to pay attention. You can do the skill without any effort. And
not thinking about it. Yeah.
And I signed up for an art class. So it's 3 hours a week for 8 weeks, Saturday nights.
That's how you're spending your
Saturday
nights?
How I'm spending my Saturday nights, plus doing the homework and the prep. And it's an amazing course, but goodness me, beginner's mind really sucks. And that feeling of like, being consciously incompetent, like I'm realizing like, okay, I can't see color. I don't understand color relativity. There's all this language which I don't know. And then the other day we were doing this thing, color mixing. I was really happy with the colors on my palette. Great. It's my first time to use oils. I'd never used oils before. I'm like, okay, good. We're happy with this. And then they're like, now you need to describe the form. You actually need to paint. And I was like, put the paintbrush to the paper. It's like, well, that doesn't look anything like, these are all nice colors, but the colors I'm observing and the color which I have,
on your palette is not.
No, it's not the same at all. It was like, back to the literal, well, not the drawing board, back to the palette, and back to the canvas. So it's interesting to be in that discomfort of learning. And I hadn't felt it so acutely for a while. To really be like, I'm not good at this.
I hope I get good soon. I hope this gets better soon.
And just so things that right? And it was that, and I've just got all this conscious incompetence about, wow, my vocabulary around color is so limited. And my understanding of color and how it interacts and the relativity of it was not even in my brain.
You had no idea. You don't know.
So unconsciously incompetent for so long. And now, so I've just kind of like peeled this first layer of the onion, and it's making me cry.
Right.
It's making me cry. Not quite literally, but so many times in that class, you know, and I think what's really good as a learner is just to be like Ian or Sandra, what am I supposed to do with, you know, this thing? And once I was doing some activity and I just went, I think you're doing the wrong. I think you've done a different project. I think you've done something completely different than I've asked you to do. So I'm like, okay, please slow down. It's like, it's good. And I'm going to ask you to do that later, but that's not actually what I've asked you to do at this point. It's like, oh, okay.
Wow. That must be like, I mean, I think you have been a good student in your lifetime, you know, it's sort of, you know, being able to keep up with what's going on. So feeling that, oh, I'm behind, I don't know what's going on, could be like, really interesting experience. Yeah,
exactly. And it's really challenging because a lot of the other people in the class quite quiet. So I'm going, I hope this isn't jammer, you know, I hope I'm not disturbing people, but they're not speaking. And it's not like I'm speaking all the time. But also, you know, I've paid like 300 quid for this class. So I want to make sure I come away with getting when we have the time together. And you know, the tutors have said it's fine. Like everybody's questions are always relevant for everyone. So watching your process and hearing my feedback on your process helps them as well. So it's good. But you know, you have that little bit like,
there you go. Yeah. Well, I'm in awe that you have taken this on, in addition to everything else with your parenting and your busy business and all these things that you have. You're not just doing it by half. It's not just, I feel like painting a picture, that you're putting yourself through these courses, you're publishing books. Amazing. Very, very impressive. And I hope it inspires lots of other people to give something a go again, or like we just mentioned, check in with that old dream and see if it's still as difficult as you thought it was going to be. And who knows what could happen. Let us know. Yeah, hit us up on Instagram. Tell us, tag us. Look at me painting something because Jennifer inspired me, or whatever it is. Your line stamps. Share us your line stamps if you create any.
Share your line stamps.
Yes, very, very exciting stuff. So what's next? Well, you know, because it's not like you haven't got much on. What's happening next in Jennifer's world? You know, what can we look forward to? Because something to check in on in another 3 years' time.
In another 3 years' time.
We come back in another 3 years' time to this episode, and we'll be laughing at us.
All right, so let's do it now. So the Ikigai book has been sold and published. Let's put that out in. The editors were persuaded that it had enough legs to be in the market. That's definitely a dream of mine, and I'd love. It feels really edgy to say, like, you know, having a better portfolio of work, and I feel like I've found more vocabulary to creatively express myself. That sounds interesting, and what that would look like in terms of exhibitions, I don't know. You can see you're laughing at me now.
Like looking, I can see you. You're just like in a candy shop, like thinking about all these great things. That's so exciting. Yeah. And I mean, I'm like, well, that art thing's done. It'll be fine. Yeah, totally. And the book. It will be what it is. It will be what it is. But amazing experience that you've had, just getting this far with it, right? Like, how many people get as far as you've gotten? Like, it's with the publishers, or it's with the people. Somebody's looking at it, right? Like, a lot of people are still in the pile or in the rubbish.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you to my agent who started it all off. Thanks, Maria. So we'll see. You know, it was her idea, actually. You know, she approached me to write the book. So also, if someone approaches you to write a book, do it.
Yeah, right. Amazing.
Because it's definitely. I was talking to a guy who's like a proposal coach, and he's just like, why do you want to go out to other agents? This person has approached you. do you know how rare this is? Do you know how rare your experience is? And I was like, no. He says, it's really rare. And they're a good house, you know, they're a reputable agency. Like, go for it. Okay.
Unconsciously incompetent. Like you didn't know what you didn't know, right? About books and stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I think that's an interesting thing as well. Like when you do something new, I think that's what I'll have to do over the next 3 years, is just trust that all of the steps which are required will become obvious and will emerge when they need to, and not needing to know all of them from the very beginning.
Not right now, no. Like,
not right now.
Yeah. What's the next big step and all of that? Yeah.
Yes.
Right. And trusting that, it's hard. It's the hard part, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Exciting.
And just having that ability to like ask when you don't know. Yeah. Being okay to be like, I don't really know what a proposal's supposed to look like. I don't really know how to like how do I do an exhibition? But then also there's maybe something as well about going, do I need to follow the status quo? Like, do I need to follow the norm? Maybe being new to something and being the new set of eyes can also be, you don't have the same stories and the same baggage about what's possible. So that's
we could just like do your own thing, and nobody's ever done it before, and it's new and exciting as well, but you don't know that this is not what everyone does.
Yeah, so sometimes being unconsciously incompetent, like ignorance is bliss, right?
Yeah, right.
I didn't know we weren't allowed to do that. Yeah. Is that not how people do things?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that what is it? I'm getting confused now. Unconsciously incompetent thing, and then switching over to being consciously incompetent is kind of painful, and it's something we all experience, especially if you've come to live in Japan and you arrive and you think I'll be fine and it'll be great, and you get here and then it's
can't read anything.
Yeah, and it's even if you've like studied Japanese for 6 years before you came, like someone who's on this call today and got here and was still completely illiterate and knew nothing. It's a really harsh wake-up call, but then you can eventually come out the other side, and soon you'll be consciously competent, and then just breezing down the highway. Okay. I always think of like driving a manual car. How did you ever learn to drive?
I can't drive.
But you went to driving school, didn't you?
I had some lessons.
Okay, and then never sort of finished it.
Never took my test.
Okay, well, if you ever learn to drive a manual car, you will know that at first it takes all of your concentration to do it, and you can't speak to anyone. And then one day you're just driving along and chatting away to your friends, and it all happens. So that's my example that I like to think of when it comes to consciously incompetent, etc. Yeah, you can get there.
Yes,
just takes time.
But also as well, actually being consciously incompetent is a great place to be, because it kind of keeps you, for me, it's like keeping me learning and keeping me, like, humility is not one of my known traits. It's definitely humbling from that perspective as well. Like, to just like, how can we know everything? We can't ever. So if you're just open to be consciously incompetent, and that there's so much more information, then I'm thinking about some of my coaching clients right now, and they're all in that transformation stage. They're ready to step up into like a new level in their organization, and that's like the biggest thing which is holding them back, is needing to know everything.
Right.
But when you're going to be a director or the head of pharmacology or whatever, like, you can't know everything. So you have to be okay. Like, it's a little bit different to consciously incompetent, but you have to be okay to be consciously,
like 70% ready or 60% ready or something.
Or just to be, it's just be okay that you can't know everything. I'm sure there's a fancier way, and some great person has made a beautiful model about it. It's not quite consciously incompetent, because we don't want you to be incompetent in your job, but omnipotent. What's the opposite of omnipotent? Omnipotent, right, is all-knowing. So whatever the
mostly omnipotent,
non-omnipotent, I don't know. Well done, Oxford English Literature degree. I'm glad. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, parents. Yes, the investing in my classical education was whatever the opposite of being omnipotent is. You have to be okay with that in any role in your life, and that's what we all experienced in COVID.
Yeah,
we all like, we don't know what's going to happen.
No,
and we have to be okay with that. We thought we knew, but now we don't.
Yes, but yeah, like I was talking to someone today, and I just reminded me that it's not finished and it's not going away just yet, and it's something we're going to have to be not living with, but dealing with, and for the foreseeable future. So yeah, might as well just get on with stuff and do what you can. So yeah, it's not going to be
I don't
over.
know how much time we have left on this recording, but I want to share one more thing, which is, it may be more, but I read a brilliant article in The Guardian that was talking about like what we're experiencing. This is obviously from a UK perspective, but this is the social death of COVID.
Right.
So
what does that mean?
It means that whilst maybe COVID has become endemic more, not quite, it's not officially been downgraded by my understanding, but at some point hopefully it will be, and it's all this living with COVID. But the social death is where it is not talked about, and it kind of is not something that we put our awareness to. And the author of the article looked for literature, art, social commentary post the Spanish flu,
right, and
couldn't find anything. So most, wars, people write about wars, right? And they write about the fallout of like the First World War, 1918, right? It's the same kind of timing. My history is correct. But Spanish flu was not celebrated, was not written about. That trauma wasn't handled. And it's almost, maybe COVID is going through the same thing, where the way that we collectively deal with it as a society, or our different societies, is to pretend it didn't happen.
Right. That could easily happen, right? Like you can sort of feel it already a little bit. Like, was it all just the dream? And did I make up my feelings about the last 2.5 years? This residual feeling that a lot of people probably still have. I know I have, about what happened over the last 2.5 years. Did I just make it all up, and I need to suck it up and move on? And
and there isn't that processing of the trauma. So we make this very quick social death so that we can just get on with it, rather than it's not finishing. It's quite interesting. It would be interesting to see what continues to happen in that. Like when is it? When does it end?
Yeah.
And for many things,
how would you process it as well? That's another question, right? Like how?
Right. Like a war ends.
Yeah,
right? A war has a date when it's finished,
and there's a remembrance, and there's you take time to remember the fallen people and lost family members and things. But COVID, not so much. Yeah.
And I think because it's not ended, but there hasn't been. There's not any sense of that. Let's remember. There is, I'm sure, on the families who are directly, but there's not like a collective COVID grieving process, or like let's thank. I know that we've had different kinds of thanking frontline workers, but not recently.
No, that's still what got very real for them, right? And they're working with,
It's interesting to see where that will go, how it will emerge, and how art will process it. Will artists even process it directly? There's something about, it was COVID drama, like people wearing masks and being in lockdown, like those stories aren't selling. People don't want to don't want to talk about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that leaves us with a very interesting thought to think about, doesn't it? How are you processing the last 2.5 years? Are you processing? Are you putting it in a box? Does it need processing, or are you okay? Like, yeah, maybe you are, but maybe not. Something to think about, that's for sure.
Yes.
Wow, Jennifer, we have traversed a lot of topics over this last hour.
Thank you.
But it's been very great to hear all of the things that you're trying, and it's so inspirational that you can do these things from the comfort of your home. It's not like you're traveling all over the world, and there are no excuses, right? Like, you can get into these art classes, you can publish a book all from your own home.
Yes.
So anything is open to you now, and you're definitely an inspiration for how you are doing that.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.
We'll check in with you in 3 years' time.
Yes, definitely. Yes. When I'm on my book tour. Right.
Yes. Yeah, stop by.
I will.
Thank
Bye.